The sky had been clear when the shuttle left the orbital station, glinting in the early sunlight like a silver arrow. Inside, Evan adjusted his seatbelt for the 10th time, his fingers tapping nervously against the plastic armrest. Across from him, Director Arya Vale sat with the calm authority that had earned her respect and fear among every employee at Novatech. She didn't need to speak to command attention. Even her silence felt like an order. Evan had always admired her brilliance, though he rarely got more than a few words in during meetings. But today, sitting beside her on this small shuttle, it wasn't just her reputation that made his chest tighten. It was the strange, fleeting thought that maybe, under the vastness of space, she might be human, too. The hum of the engines filled the cabin, a steady, reassuring sound, until it didn't. A sudden jolt threw Evan forward, his hands gripping the seat in panic. Alarms blared, lights flickered. Arya, calm as ever, reached over and steadied herself against the panel, her eyes scanning the dashboard like a general on a battlefield. "Evan," she said, her voice unusually soft. "Brace yourself. Something's happening." The shuttle shuddered violently, then pitched downward. Evan's stomach flipped as the craft spun through the atmosphere. He held his breath, waiting for the inevitable. But instead, the world outside the viewport went dark as clouds rushed past. Then came the crash. When he opened his eyes, the first thing Evan noticed was the smell: salt, wet earth, and something almost metallic. The shuttle had broken apart, half buried in the sand at the edge of a small beach. His seatbelt was torn, his head ached, and every muscle in his body screamed at him to move. Arya was already upright, brushing sand from her jacket. "You're alive," she said, not as a question but as a statement. Evan nodded, trying to keep his voice steady. I think so," he stammered. "Good. Stay calm. Injuries first. Assessment second," she instructed. Her voice had its usual edge of authority. But there was something else beneath it, an unspoken relief that they had both survived. They crawled out of the shuttle, surveying their surroundings. The island was small but dense with vegetation. Strange flowers that shimmered faintly in the sunlight, and towering trees whose leaves were tinged with colors Evan didn't recognize. He took a cautious step forward, then froze. "Look at this," Arya murmured, pointing toward the shoreline. Scattered across the sand were pieces of metal unlike anything Evan had ever seen, smooth, silver, and glowing faintly, almost as if alive. They were curved, almost organic in shape, yet clearly constructed. Evan knelt down, careful not to touch them with bare hands. What is this?" he asked, his curiosity battling the fear in his chest. Arya's sharp eyes scanned the horizon. "I don't know, but it doesn't belong to our shuttle, that's certain." Evan glanced at her, and for the first time, he noticed the tension in her shoulders, the subtle hesitation in her posture. The woman who had seemed untouchable in every boardroom now looked uncertain, human. She turned to him, her expression almost vulnerable. "If we're alone here," she said softly, "will you stay by my side?" Evan blinked. His mind scrambled for the right words. "Of course," he said quickly, hoping it sounded as sincere as he felt. Arya gave a small nod, her gaze returning to the strange fragments on the sand. "Good. Then let's move. We need shelter and supplies before nightfall." As they moved inland, the jungle seemed to welcome them with a quiet, humming energy. Birds of colors Evan had no names for flitted between the branches. Strange insects buzzed in soft rhythms, and the air smelled sweet and metallic at the same time. Every step forward felt like stepping into a world that had existed in secret, untouched by human eyes. Arya led the way with confidence, scanning for anything that could serve as shelter. Evan followed, occasionally glancing at the sky. He couldn't see any rescue ships in orbit or satellites passing above. The thought of being stranded here was terrifying but also strangely exhilarating. For the first time in his life, Evan felt like he was part of something bigger than reports, deadlines, or office politics. "Over here," Arya called, pointing to a small clearing surrounded by thick trees. A natural overhang created a crude but effective shelter. "This will do for now. We can gather food and water before nightfall." Evan looked around nervously. "Food?" Arya raised an eyebrow, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "There are fruit-bearing trees and freshwater streams. You'll survive." Humans have done more with less. Her words reminded Evan of why he had always admired her. She didn't just manage people, she understood them. She understood survival. And somehow, despite the danger, the fear, and the unknown, her presence made Evan feel safer than he had ever felt in any corporate office. As they collected fruit, Evan noticed something peculiar. The strange metallic fragments from the beach had left faint impressions in the sand, almost like a map. He pointed it out to Arya, who knelt down and examined it closely. "These patterns. They're not random," she murmured. "Someone or something placed these here intentionally." Evan's curiosity flared. "Do you think it's from another civilization?" Arya hesitated. "It's possible. But more likely, it's from an experiment. Humans experimenting with technology we don't fully understand yet." Evan frowned. "Experiment?" Arya's gaze softened for a moment, and she looked at him with a mixture of seriousness and something else Evan couldn't quite name. "Yes. And we may have stumbled right into it." The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Evan and Arya sat near their makeshift shelter, sharing a few pieces of fruit. The world around them seemed to glow with a strange light. The forest alive with noises that were both alien and beautiful. Evan finally dared to ask, "Arya, why did you ask me to stay by your side?" She looked at him, her eyes reflecting the last rays of the sun. "Because," she said quietly, "in situations like this, the only thing that matters is trust. And you've earned mine. Don't think of this as survival, Evan. Think of it as proving that humans can rise above fear and uncertainty. That we can face the unknown without losing ourselves or each other." Evan nodded, the weight of her words sinking in. He didn't fully understand what lay ahead, but he knew one thing. He wouldn't abandon her. Not here. Not ever. Night fell slowly, and the jungle came alive with soft sounds, the chirping of insects, the distant calls of unknown creatures, and the gentle rush of waves against the shore. They sat together in the fading light, sharing stories of their lives back home, laughing softly at small memories, and quietly acknowledging the strange bond that had begun between them. For Evan, the fear of the unknown didn't disappear, but it became manageable. Because he wasn't alone. And with Arya by his side, he felt a strength he had never known before, proof that humans were capable of more than they realized. The stars began to twinkle in the night sky, brighter than any he had ever seen. And in that quiet moment, Evan understood something fundamental. Survival wasn't just about food, water, or shelter. Survival was about connection, trust, and the courage to face a world that could surprise you at every turn. And somewhere deep in the forest, the faint glow of those mysterious fragments pulsed softly, as if waiting for them to take the next step. Evan didn't know what lay ahead, but for the first time, he felt ready. Because they were together, and together, he knew, humans could face anything. Morning arrived with soft golden light spilling over the jungle, warming the sand and highlighting the metallic fragments scattered along the beach. Evan woke first, brushing sand from his hair and stretching. The previous day's fear had not fully faded, but it had changed into a quiet excitement. Survival was no longer only about staying alive, it was about discovery. Arya was already awake, sitting near the water's edge, examining a piece of the strange metal. Her eyes, usually sharp and calculating, held a glimmer of wonder. Evan approached slowly. "Morning," he said, trying to sound casual, though the words felt small against the vastness of the island. "Morning," she replied, not looking up. "Sleep well?" "Enough," he said. "What about you?" She finally turned to him, her gaze lingering on his face. "Sleep is overrated when you have a mystery to solve." Her tone was firm but gentle. Evan couldn't help but smile. Even here, She was still Arya Vale, the brilliant, relentless mind that seemed to know everything. Evan knelt beside her, picking up another fragment. The metal was smooth, cool, and almost alive to the touch, pulsing faintly with light. "It doesn't feel like anything I've ever seen," he said. "It's almost like it's waiting for us to understand it." Arya nodded, her eyes scanning the horizon as if expecting something to emerge from the jungle. "This island, it shouldn't exist," she said. Her voice was low, as if speaking aloud made the thought dangerous. "It's not on any map. No records. No satellite images. And yet, here it is perfectly preserved, untouched. But these fragments, they're too new to be decades old." Evan's curiosity surged. "So, you think someone or something has been here recently?" "Not just someone," she said, standing and brushing sand from her pants. "I think humans were here before, long ago. Maybe even a secret experiment that was abandoned. But someone or some group has returned, or kept it active." Evan felt a chill. The idea of humans conducting secret experiments didn't scare him. He had read about them, but the thought that they could stumble upon one here, isolated and unknown, sent a thrill of danger through him. It was exciting, not frightening. They spent the morning exploring the island, moving carefully through thick jungle. Strange plants brushed against their arms, some soft and feathery, others stiff like thin metal wires. Birds with translucent wings glimmered as they flew above. Every step seemed to bring a new wonder. Evan felt like a child discovering the world for the first time. Arya paused near a line of trees. "Look," she said, pointing to the base of a large tree. The ground sloped downward into what looked like the entrance of a tunnel. It had been carved into the earth, perfectly round, and reinforced with a material that matched the metallic fragments on the shore. Evan knelt to examine it. "It's artificial," he whispered. "This isn't natural." Arya crouched beside him. "Exactly. And based on the materials, it's advanced far beyond typical construction. Whoever built this new technology we've only dreamed about." Evan felt a surge of excitement. "You mean, someone here could have built machines like the ones in our labs? Or even better?" "Yes," Arya said, her eyes bright. "Maybe even before Earth had the knowledge to do it. This island is a secret of humanity. Something hidden from the rest of the world." They ventured into the tunnel carefully. It was surprisingly spacious, with smooth walls that pulsed faintly with soft blue light. Strange symbols lined the walls, patterns that seemed to shift slightly when Evan's eyes moved across them. This is incredible," Evan murmured. "I've never seen anything like it." Arya placed a hand on his shoulder. "Neither have I. But remember, this is uncharted territory. We don't know what's waiting deeper inside. Stay alert." Evan nodded, though the thought of danger didn't frighten him as much as it should have. Instead, he was filled with determination, curiosity, mixed with pride. Humanity had created something amazing here, and now it was up to him and Arya to uncover it. As they walked deeper, they came to a chamber filled with devices that seemed to hum with energy. Lights flickered along panels, but nothing seemed active. Evan's eyes widened. "Are these machines?" "Not just machines," Arya said, her voice almost reverent. "This is a lab, a place where humans experimented with technology far beyond what the public knew. Some of these devices, they may be capable of thinking, of learning." Evan stepped closer to one device, a small sphere hovering slightly above a pedestal. When he reached out, the sphere emitted a soft glow and rotated slowly, as if acknowledging his presence. He jumped back slightly, but Arya smiled. "They're responsive," she said. "Humanity always had the curiosity to reach further than fear allowed. This is proof." 2021. They spent hours exploring the chamber, documenting devices and symbols, theorizing how the technology could work. Evan, who had always been shy in meetings, began explaining patterns he noticed in the symbols, connections between the devices, and the logic behind their placement. Arya listened, impressed by his insight. "You're learning quickly," she said. "More quickly than most people I've trained. I knew you had potential, Evan. But this is remarkable." Evan felt a swell of pride. For the first time, someone who had always been untouchable in his eyes, someone he had feared and admired, was acknowledging his intellect. Not just that, she trusted him to explore with her, to make sense of a secret humans had hidden for decades. As the sun began to set, they returned to the beach, the metallic fragments glowing faintly in the dim light. Evan noticed how the glow seemed to pulse in a pattern, almost like a heartbeat. He pointed it out to Arya. "See that?" he asked. "It's alive." "In a way," Arya nodded. "Not alive like you or me, but responsive, adaptive. Humanity may have built this, but it was designed to interact with thought, with reasoning, with connection." Evan looked at her, realizing something profound. "Yes," she said softly. "And that's why we're here. It's testing us, not our strength, not our skill, but our ability to think, to work together, to rise above fear. Humanity has always had this capacity. That's why we survive." Evan's heart raced. "So, the island? It's a challenge?" "Not exactly a challenge," Arya corrected. "A test, a reminder. Humanity has always been capable of more than it knows. Whoever created this wanted humans to remember their own potential." They sat quietly on the sand, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The forest around them shimmered with strange, soft lights, and the metallic fragments glowed steadily. For a moment, the world seemed perfect and alive with possibility. Evan turned to Arya. I think I understand what you meant yesterday, when you asked me to stay by your side." Arya's gaze met his, steady and calm. "Yes. In a place like this, alone and unknown, it's not just about survival. It's about trust, teamwork, and courage. That's what will carry us forward." Evan nodded, feeling a deep sense of purpose. This island was more than a mystery. It was a chance to prove that humans, working together, could face anything. Night fell completely, and the stars above reflected off the ocean like diamonds scattered on black velvet. The metallic fragments pulsed in rhythm with the waves, and Evan realized that the island was more alive than he had first thought, not with creatures, but with intelligence, with a quiet, patient purpose. Arya broke the silence. "Tomorrow, we explore further. There's a structure on the far side of the island I noticed while we were here. It looks significant." Evan's curiosity flared again. "Do you think it's another lab?" "Possibly," she said. "Or something even older. Something that might tell us why this island exists at all." Evan felt a thrill of anticipation. For the first time in his life, he was not just following orders, not just performing tasks. He was part of something bigger, something humans had built and hidden, and now it was his turn to uncover it. As they settled in for the night under the natural overhang, Evan thought about the island, the fragments, and the strange, uncharted technology. He thought about Arya, her calm confidence, and the trust she had placed in him. And he thought about humanity itself, capable of wonders, resilient, brilliant. Sleep came slowly, but when it did, it was filled with visions of glowing machines, vast forests, and the endless possibilities that lay ahead. Tomorrow promised new discoveries, challenges, and tests. But for the first time, Evan felt ready, because he wasn't just surviving, he was discovering, and discovery, he realized, was the essence of being human. And together, he and Arya were about to prove just how extraordinary humanity could be. The next morning, the jungle seemed to hum with life in a way Evan had never noticed before. The birds were louder, the plants swayed as if greeting them, and the faint pulse from the metallic fragments on the beach seemed stronger, almost as if the island itself was aware they had survived the first day. Evan stretched and shook the sleep from his eyes. Arya was already up, standing near the shoreline, examining one of the fragments that glowed faintly in the morning sun. She held it carefully, turning it in her hand like a precious gem. "Morning," Evan said, his voice soft, careful not to disturb the quiet energy of the island. "Morning," she replied, her eyes still on the fragment. "I've been thinking about how these pieces fit together. I believe they're part of something bigger. Something that was built to guide humans." Evan frowned slightly. "Guide humans? You mean like a map?" Arya smiled faintly, a rare softness in her usually serious expression. "Exactly. But not just a map. A guide. Something that tests intelligence, curiosity, and collaboration." Evan's curiosity spiked. "So, the fragments on the beach? They're pieces of it?" "How?" "Yes," she said, standing. "And I think we can activate it." Together, they collected the glowing fragments and carried them back to the overhang where they had spent the night. Arya arranged them in a rough circle, and Evan noticed how the glow pulsed faster when each fragment was near another. It was as if the pieces recognized each other. "Try placing this one here," Arya suggested, handing him a fragment that shimmered like liquid silver. Evan did as she instructed, and immediately, a soft hum filled the air. The fragments floated slightly above the sand, rotating in perfect synchronization. A faint blue light began to rise from the center of the circle, illuminating the area with an almost magical glow. "It's alive," Evan whispered, awed. "Not alive in the way we are," Arya corrected. "But it responds to thought, understanding, and connection. This is what humans were meant to interact with, what they were meant to discover." Evan stepped closer, staring into the blue light. It was mesmerizing, as if the island itself was welcoming them into a secret that had been waiting decades to be revealed. Arya placed a hand on his shoulder. "Ready?" Evan nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be." She reached into the center of the glowing circle and touched the light. The fragments immediately reacted, forming a vertical column of soft, pulsating energy. Shapes began to appear within it, symbols, patterns, and what looked like star maps. Evan's eyes widened. "Look at that," he breathed. "It's a star map. And that's Earth." "Yes," Arya said, her voice filled with awe. "Somewhere out there, humans tried to reach beyond their world. They built this as a guide, a beacon. And now, it's calling us back." Evan stepped closer, his mind racing. "So, it's a message? A map for humans to follow?" Arya nodded. "Exactly. But it's more than a map. It's a test. Whoever activates this must prove they can understand, adapt, and cooperate. That's why it waited for us humans capable of thinking, not just surviving." Evan felt a surge of pride. Humans had always been underestimated in the universe. But here they were, alive, curious, and capable of unlocking secrets lost to time. As they studied the map, the symbols began to shift, forming patterns that Evan recognized from the fragments they had found earlier. He realized that the light pulsed in a rhythm, almost like a heartbeat, responding to their thoughts and actions. "It's interactive," he whispered. "It wants us to do something." "Yes," Arya said. "It wants us to prove that we can work together, think logically, and trust each other. That's what will unlock the next step." Evan glanced at her, feeling the weight of her words. "So, it's not just about understanding the map. It's about us, about humanity." Arya smiled faintly. "Exactly. This beacon was designed to remind humans of their own potential, to test courage, intelligence, and collaboration. And we're passing that test." Together, they worked to follow the patterns, arranging the fragments in ways that mirrored the symbols in the light. Evan felt a sense of connection to the humans who had built this beacon decades ago. They had created something extraordinary, and now it was their turn to honor it. As the last fragment was placed, the light pulsed brightly, forming a holographic projection above them. It was a detailed map of star systems, planets, and routes. Lines connected points in space like a spiderweb of knowledge. Earth was highlighted, but other destinations were marked as well, places humans had reached, or tried to reach, in secret. Evan's eyes widened. This is incredible. Humanity knew more than we thought. They explored farther, reached higher, and left this behind for us. Arya nodded. They believed humans could achieve greatness, and we are seeing it firsthand. This is our legacy. Evan felt a thrill of awe. The idea that humans had once reached beyond the stars, left messages, and built technology beyond public knowledge was overwhelming. And now, it was their turn to continue the journey. As they examined the projection, a soft vibration pulsed through the ground. The fragments responded, glowing brighter in unison. It was as if the island itself recognized their progress, acknowledging their curiosity and teamwork. Evan turned to Arya. Do you think it will lead us to more discoveries? More knowledge? Arya's eyes shone with excitement. Absolutely, but we have to be careful. The beacon is intelligent. It will test us in ways we don't yet understand. We must remain calm, observant, and cooperative. Evan nodded, feeling a sense of purpose. For the first time, he understood the true meaning of the beacon. It wasn't just about finding a map or unlocking technology. It was about proving the value of human intelligence, creativity, and trust. Hours passed as they studied the holographic map, tracing lines between stars, planets, and unknown regions of space. Evan realized that the beacon was designed to inspire, not intimidate. It celebrated human achievement and challenged them to rise even higher. Arya placed a hand on his arm. You've done well, she said softly. Your insight, your curiosity, your ability to think and adapt. It's exactly what this beacon was waiting for. Evan felt a warmth in his chest. For the first time, he didn't feel like a junior engineer, overshadowed by a brilliant boss. He felt like a human capable of greatness, like a true partner in discovery. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the beach, the beacon pulsed one final time before dimming slightly, as if resting. The holographic projection remained, a constant reminder of humanity's hidden potential. Evan looked at Arya. So, what happens next? Arya smiled, her eyes reflecting the fading light. Next, we explore the rest of the island. There are structures, devices, and knowledge waiting for us. And eventually, we must decide whether to share this with the world or keep it safe until humanity is ready. Evan nodded, feeling the weight of their responsibility. They weren't just surviving on this island, they were caretakers of a secret that could change everything humanity knew about itself. As night fell, the island glowed faintly with the pulse of the fragments. Evan and Arya settled under their overhang, watching the stars and listening to the gentle hum of the jungle. The beacon had called them back, but it had also reminded them of something deeper. That humans were capable of extraordinary things, and that discovery was the path to greatness. Evan reached for a fragment, holding it in his hand. The soft glow responded, and he felt a connection, a link to the humans who had built this beacon, to the knowledge they had left behind, and to the promise of what humanity could achieve. Arya glanced at him. You see, humans always find a way. Curiosity, trust, courage. These are our greatest strengths. And together, we can unlock the future. Evan smiled. Then let's keep going. We've only just begun. The stars shone brightly above, and the island pulsed softly around them. In that moment, Evan understood that humanity was not just capable of surviving. Humans were capable of wonder, of innovation, and of reaching for the stars. And with Arya by his side, he knew they would face whatever came next together. The beacon had called them, and humanity had answered. The next morning, the island felt different. The wind carried a quiet energy, rustling the trees in a rhythm that Evan couldn't quite understand. Even the metallic fragments on the beach seemed brighter, pulsing with a steady, welcoming light. It was as if the island itself had acknowledged the beacon's activation from the day before. Evan woke first, quietly watching Arya sleep under the overhang. The adventure had changed him. Gone was the timid junior engineer who hesitated to speak in meetings. Now he felt bold, confident, and eager to face the unknown. The island had awakened something within him, a curiosity and courage he hadn't known he possessed. Arya stirred as the sun's first rays touched her face. She sat up slowly, taking in the glow of the fragments. "Morning," she said softly. "I think today we may see the results of our work with the beacon." Evan's heart leapt. "You mean something will respond?" "Yes," she said, brushing sand from her pants. "The beacon was built to communicate, to guide humans, yes, but also to test them. I suspect visitors are on their way." Evan's eyes widened. "Visitors? You mean—" "No," Arya replied, her tone calm but serious. "Not people. Something different. Something designed to interact with intelligent humans. Something extraordinary." By mid-morning, the air around the central circle of fragments began to shimmer. The soft blue glow grew stronger, casting reflections on the sand and jungle around them. Evan and Arya watched in awe as shapes emerged from the light holographic forms that hovered in the air, slowly solidifying into figures. Evan held his breath. "They're not alive," he whispered. "Not in the traditional sense," Arya said, "but they are intelligent. And they are observers." The figures became clearer. They were humanoid in shape but translucent, their surfaces glowing faintly with soft patterns of light. They spoke without words, communicating in thought and feeling rather than sound. Evan felt the meaning of their presence more than he heard it. "Welcome, humans," a voice echoed inside Evan's mind. He looked at Arya, and she nodded, understanding perfectly. The AI emissaries had arrived. Evan swallowed nervously. "Why? Why are they here?" "They are the caretakers of this island," Arya explained. "They monitor human progress. The beacon was designed not just to call humans back, but to observe whether humans can understand, learn, and work together." The emissaries moved gracefully around the circle of fragments. Evan noticed that they seemed fascinated by his presence. One of them projected a holographic diagram, showing scenes of humans building the original technology decades ago. He saw scientists, engineers, and explorers, all working together with care and intelligence. "They're impressed," Evan said quietly. "By us?" Arya smiled. "By what humans are capable of. By the fact that we survived, explored, and activated the beacon. That shows curiosity, intelligence, and perseverance. Qualities they value." Evan felt a strange sense of pride. Humanity had always been underestimated in the universe. Yet here they were, acknowledged by beings far beyond human understanding. He realized that this island, the fragments, and the beacon were not just tests, they were recognition of what humans could achieve. The emissaries then projected another series of images, showing stars, planets, and strange symbols. Evan noticed that some of the destinations were marked with glowing dots, routes humans had explored, or perhaps attempts to reach further than they could. "They're showing us history," Evan whispered. "History humans didn't know existed." "Yes," Arya said. "And they want us to understand it. To learn from it. To prepare for the next step." One of the emissaries extended a glowing hand toward Evan. The sphere he had been holding floated into the air. Merging with the hand, a wave of understanding passed through him, not words, not language, but ideas and patterns. He realized that the emissaries were teaching, not commanding. "They're sharing knowledge," he said, amazed. Arya placed a hand on his shoulder. "This is what humans are meant to do. To observe, to learn, and to pass knowledge forward. That's how we evolve." For hours, they studied with the emissaries, absorbing information, understanding symbols, and learning patterns of energy and technology far beyond current human capability. Evan realized that the emissaries were not testing strength or survival, they were testing intellect, collaboration, and the ability to grow. At one point, one of the emissaries paused and looked at Evan and Arya simultaneously. In that instant, Evan felt a deep connection, as if the being was evaluating not just his intelligence, but his ability to work with another human. You see, Arya said softly, they are testing us together. Alone, we might fail. But as a team, we can succeed. Evan nodded, understanding the truth in her words. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to cooperate, to share knowledge, and to face challenges together. He felt proud not of himself alone, but of what humans could achieve when united. As the sun began to set, the emissaries projected one final hologram. It showed a path forward, leading to another part of the island. Strange, sophisticated structures were revealed, places of learning, energy, and discovery. The island was much larger and more intricate than Evan had imagined. They want us to continue, Evan said, eyes wide with excitement. There's more to explore. Yes, Arya replied, her voice calm but filled with anticipation. And we will. But we must remember, the knowledge we find is powerful. We must respect it, understand it, and use it wisely. Evan looked at her, realizing that their bond had deepened. Not just as boss and employee, but as partners in discovery. The trust and collaboration between them had been tested, and now it was stronger than ever. The emissaries began to fade, their forms dissolving into the soft glow of the fragments. But the knowledge, the understanding, and the sense of purpose remained. Evan felt a profound connection to the island, to the emissaries, and to humanity itself. Do you think they'll come back? He asked. Perhaps, Arya said, gazing at the horizon. Or perhaps they will observe from afar. Their purpose is not to interfere, but to guide. And we've proven that humans are capable of understanding, learning, and growing. Evan sat quietly, absorbing the significance of everything they had experienced. This island, the beacon, the fragments, and the emissaries, they were all reminders of humanity's potential. And now, he realized, it was their responsibility to honor that potential. Night fell over the island, and the fragments pulsed softly, illuminating the clearing with a gentle light. Evan and Arya settled under their overhang, looking up at the stars. We've only just begun, Arya said, her voice quiet but certain. Tomorrow, we explore the structures the emissaries showed us, and we learn everything we can. Evan nodded, feeling a surge of determination. He wasn't just surviving here, he was discovering, learning, and becoming part of something extraordinary. As they drifted off to sleep, the island seemed to hum around them, alive with knowledge and energy. The emissaries had come, observed, and shared. And now, Evan and Arya were ready for the next step in humanity's secret legacy. Evan held a fragment in his hand, its soft glow pulsing in rhythm with the island. He realized that this was more than a survival story. It was a story of growth, of potential, and of human ingenuity. Arya turned to him, a faint smile on her face. Together, we can do anything. We've proven that. And the universe is waiting for humans to rise. Amadi, Evan smiled back, feeling a deep sense of purpose. For the first time in his life, he felt part of something far greater than himself. The stars above twinkled, the fragments pulsed, and the island whispered secrets of knowledge, waiting for humans brave enough to discover them. And Evan knew, without doubt, that humanity was ready. Together, he and Arya would rise. Together, they would unlock the legacy of the beacon. And together, humans would prove that curiosity, intelligence, and trust were their greatest strengths. The morning sun spilled across the island, warming the sand and the soft glow of the metallic fragments. Evan and Arya awoke with a sense of purpose unlike any they had felt before. The emissaries had come and gone, leaving behind knowledge, guidance, and a challenge for humanity. But it was now up to them to act. Evan stretched and glanced at Arya. She was already examining the fragments, arranging them carefully, as if the pieces themselves responded to her touch. "Good morning," he said softly. "Good morning," she replied, her voice calm but bright with anticipation. "Today, we take the next step." Evan felt a thrill in his chest. The structures the emissaries had revealed waited on the far side of the island. They were more advanced than anything Evan could imagine, smooth, geometric forms rising from the forest floor, glowing faintly with energy that seemed to hum in time with the fragments. "This is incredible," he whispered. "Do you think humans really built this?" Arya nodded. "Humans built the technology, yes. But the island, and the emissaries, guided them. This was a collaboration between human intelligence and ideas beyond our understanding. And now, it's ours to learn from." Together, they moved through the jungle toward the first structure. The path was clear but alive, with soft pulses of light marking the way. Evan noticed how the fragments reacted to each step they took, glowing brighter as they approached the structures. When they reached the first building, they stopped in awe. It was a dome of transparent material, smooth and perfect, with panels inside that responded to their presence. Symbols and diagrams floated in the air, shifting and rotating as if waiting for them to interact. This is a library," Evan said, amazed. "A library of knowledge humans lost or never knew existed. A library of knowledge, a library of knowledge, a library of knowledge. Humans lost, humans lost, humans lost." "Yes," Arya said, her eyes scanning the floating symbols. "The emissaries preserved human history and technology here. They want us to learn, to remember, and to continue the work humans began long ago." Evan reached out and touched a glowing diagram. Instantly, he felt understanding flow into his mind, not in words, but in patterns, concepts, and ideas. He could see formulas, inventions, and technologies humans had once imagined and tested. "It's incredible," he whispered. "Humans really were capable of more than anyone believed." Arya placed a hand on his shoulder. "And now we are." The test wasn't just survival. It was understanding, curiosity, and the courage to learn. That's what the emissaries wanted to see. Evan nodded, feeling pride and awe. The island had shown him the greatness of humanity, not through power or strength, but through intelligence, creativity, and collaboration. For hours, they explored the structures, learning and documenting everything they could. Some devices seemed designed to generate energy, others to store knowledge, and some to create connections across vast distances. Every discovery reminded them that humans had once reached beyond what the world knew, leaving behind treasures of knowledge to guide future generations. At one point, Arya stopped before a large pedestal at the center of a chamber. A holographic sphere hovered above it, glowing with soft, pulsing light. "This," she said, "is the culmination of everything here. A beacon, yes, but also a choice." Evan frowned. "A choice? A choice?" "Yes," she said. "We can use this to signal Earth and invite humanity to reclaim this knowledge now. Or we can protect it, learning fully before anyone else arrives. The emissaries want us to decide if humanity is ready." Evan's mind raced. To signal Earth would mean sharing discoveries that could change human civilization forever. But it could also be dangerous if misused. To wait would be wise. But it might delay progress. He looked at Arya, her expression calm, but full of thought. "We need to decide together," she said softly. "Not as boss and employee, but as humans entrusted with knowledge that could shape the future." Evan nodded. "I agree." They stood side by side, examining the sphere. The fragments pulsed brighter, reacting to their thoughts and presence. It was as if the island itself understood the weight of their choice. After a long silence, Evan spoke. "I think humanity is ready. Not everyone, of course, but those who are curious, who seek knowledge, who can work together. We should signal Earth. Let humans rise to the challenge." Arya looked at him, her eyes shining with quiet approval. "I agree. But we must prepare first. Ensure that what we share is protected, understandable, and safe. Knowledge without guidance can be dangerous." They spent the rest of the day preparing. Using the fragments and the devices in the structures, they created a controlled signal, a beacon that would reach Earth, but only to those who could recognize it and understand its meaning. Evan marveled at the process, realizing that humans had once designed this system not just to survive, but to inspire the best in each other. When the final adjustments were complete, Arya stood beside Evan. "Are you ready?" she asked. Evan nodded, feeling a deep sense of connection to the island, to Arya, and to humanity itself. Ready. Together, they activated the beacon. A brilliant light shot into the sky, visible across the ocean and beyond the atmosphere. The fragments pulsed in rhythm with the signal, and the holographic sphere expanded, projecting a map of Earth and the stars beyond. For a moment, they simply watched. Then, from distant points across the globe, signals responded. Humanity was receiving the call. Scientists, explorers, and curious minds everywhere noticed the beacon, recognized the patterns, and understood its message. Humans were capable of far more than they knew. Evan turned to Arya. "It's working. Humans, they're answering." She smiled, her eyes reflecting the light of the fragments. "Yes. And now it's our responsibility to guide them, to share what we've learned, protect it, and ensure humanity continues to rise." As night fell, they watched the stars, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment. The island was quiet, the fragments pulsing softly, and the knowledge they had uncovered was now spreading across the world. Humanity had been reminded of its potential, and Evan understood something fundamental. True strength was not in dominance or power, but in curiosity, collaboration, and courage. Evan looked at Arya. "We did it. We really did it." She nodded. "Yes. And humanity will build on this. We've taken the first step, but the journey is just beginning." For the first time, Evan felt fully equal to Arya, not just her colleague, not just her companion, but a partner in the greatest adventure humanity could undertake, reclaiming its lost knowledge and proving its worth to the universe. The island had tested them, the beacon had guided them, and now, humanity would rise, stronger, wiser, and more curious than ever. Evan held a fragment in his hand, feeling the soft pulse of light as if it were a heartbeat. "We're not just surviving anymore," he said softly. "We're discovering. We're learning. We're proving that humans can do anything." Arya placed her hand over his. "And together, we always will." That's what the emissaries wanted us to see. That's what this island has taught us. Humanity's true power is in its curiosity, intelligence, and willingness to stand together. Evan smiled, feeling a deep, unshakable sense of purpose. The island, the fragments, the beacon, all of it was proof that humans were extraordinary. And now, the world would know it too. As they looked at the stars, a gentle wind rustled the trees, carrying a quiet hum of energy from the island. Evan felt a connection to the humans who had come before, to the emissaries who had guided them, and to the generations of explorers who would follow. The island had been a test, the beacon had been a challenge, but humanity had risen, and with Arya by his side, Evan knew they were ready for anything. Together, they had unlocked the legacy of the beacon. Together, they had reminded the world of human potential. And together, humans would continue to reach for the stars. Evan took one last look at the fragments glowing softly in the night, their pulse steady and strong. He knew the future was bright. Humanity had been called, and it had answered. And for the first time in his life, Evan felt certain of one thing. Humans were capable of anything, as long as they trusted in themselves and each other. The island whispered around them, alive with knowledge, energy, and hope. And as the stars shone above, Evan and Arya stood together, ready to guide humanity into a new era of discovery, intelligence, and courage.